Hey everybody, welcome back to another section of Financial Modeling 101. Today we're going to be talking about the income statement. So this is going to be a really important video because the income statement, as we know, houses the revenue assumptions and the growth assumptions, something that's really important to investors and should be really important to you as founders as well. So um, the income statement is kind of a behemoth. There's a lot going on. It's pretty complicated. There's a lot of as far as methodology for forecasting growth. You can get pretty in the weeds. So we're actually going to break this video up into two specific sections. The first section is going to be calculating revenue, which is probably the more interesting piece. And then the second section, which will be in the new video, will be focusing on forecasting out expenses, which is a little bit less interesting, I think, to most folks, but still obviously really important. So before we jump in, I want to make a quick point that we're going to be forecasting out a SaaS business for this example. So, depending on your business model, this may or may not work. A SaaS or a subscriptions company looks a lot different than perhaps a consulting company or a manufacturing company or an e-commerce company. So you really need to make sure that your forecast matches with your business model. And the idea behind this video is to get you thinking about good practices for forecasting growth. And I think that the logic that we apply in this video is applicable kind of across the spectrum of businesses. The funnel architecture that we go over, the idea of forecasting leads and then converting leads down to customers, those are principles that can be almost universally applied. But the actual math of how you calculate those in revenue, those can be a little bit different. Okay. So where we're going to be focusing on this video is really this top section where we kind of break it into two sections. We have growth channels. So this is really going to be, if you remember from the last video, the top of the funnel is trying to forecast people coming to your business, coming to your website, learning about your brand and how you get on people's radar. And then the second section, it's going to be focused on converting those customers. So, okay, now that they've come to your website, how do you convert them into paid customers, and what does that look like? And then the final section is going to be what we're calling products and pricing. It's taking all of these new customers that you have, breaking them down by product or by revenue stream that you offer, and then assigning some prices and some churn rates and some other metrics to that, and then calculating revenue. And that's as far as we're going to get in this video. Okay. So we'll start here at the top. So the growth channel section, the purpose of this section is to try to identify all of the different ways that you attract people to your business. Okay, so we went ahead and outlined a couple just as an example here. So as you can see, we've got organic website traffic, then we have paid traffic, and within paid traffic, we're doing Facebook and LinkedIn, right? So we'll start with this top section, organic website traffic. So organic website traffic is meant to be traffic for folks that are coming to your website that aren't coming due to paid ads or anything like that. It's people that are hearing about your business from other people. And as you build your brand, you're going to get more and more of this organic growth, which is great. And it's also great because if you use Google Analytics or programs like that, they track organic traffic versus paid traffic. So this is a metric that you can really hone in on and track pretty easily. So what we're going to want to do is take a look at what our last month's organic web traffic was. And we're going to start with that as an assumption. So let's say that last month we got 1,000 people coming to our website from an organic traffic perspective, right? And we think that we can grow that month over month by 3%. And these are just assumptions that we're making within the model, right? Just to see how it all pans out. So if I wanted to see what that looks like from a calculation perspective, we would take the beginning of the month traffic or last month's web traffic, multiply it by 1 plus the monthly growth rate. So we would be forecasting that we get 1,030 people coming to our website from an organic traffic this month, right? If we want to continue to forecast that out, we'll just set the new last month's organic traffic to the previous month right here, just like that. And I'm just going to set this cell, this 3%, equal to what it was previously. We're just going to assume that for the remainder of the model. I'm just going to copy this formula over. That was Control C, Control V. And there you go. So now the end of month organic traffic is just going to be 1,061 people. And it's just, compounding on this 3% that we got last month. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to highlight this whole section of formulas that we just created, hit Command C. I'm just going to slowly paste this over. And this is a 5-year forecast. So we're going to be going for 60 months. And I'm going to hit Control V and paste that over. Okay, so now we can clearly see how our organic traffic is growing month over month, right? According to this calculation, over 5 years, we have just shy of 6,000 people visiting our website organically, assuming a 3% compounding month over month growth, right? This is really where scenarios come into play. And it's really interesting to kind of tweak these growth rates just to see what it does to your model. So for example, we just said that we'd get 6,000 roughly people coming to our website organically if we have a 3% growth rate. Well, if we change this to 5%, I can quickly scroll to the right and see that now we're just shy of 20,000 people coming, which is, pretty interesting. And we forecast monthly growth in this model as being just static, just saying that it's going to be 5% over the length of, the entire length of the model. You can really build this out any way that you'd like and customize it, make it to where it's 5% maybe early on, and then it goes down to 2%, 1%, whatever, and kind of make it go down from there, right? So the next sections that we added were around paid advertising. So we broke this out into 2 sections. We have paid advertising from Facebook. We have paid advertising from LinkedIn. So we went ahead and put a framework here where we can input the budget per month and then the average cost per click, just to try to get a estimated amount of traffic depending on how much we're spending from a monthly basis, right? So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be inputting an assumed budget. So we'll say that at the start of the model, we're starting at $5,000 that we're going to be spending that month on Facebook. And then we're going to have an assumption for the average cost per click. This can vary by company, but for now, let's just say that we have a $2 cost per click for our industry. And if we want to see how much traffic we're going to get based off of that budget, we can just hit 5,000, divide that by our average cost per click. We can see that in that month, with that assumed amount of spend, we'd get about 2,500 people coming to our website. So what I'm going to do now, just to get the framework in place, just so that it's the logic is being copied throughout the entire model. So I'm just going to copy, Control C, Control V, and now you can see if you assume that we spend $5,000 a month, every month we should be getting consistently 2,500 people to our website every single month. So we built this one a little bit differently, our budget per month, just because working in a startup or really, any business, your budget can vary depending on what your cash situation looks like. So we like the idea of being able to go in and say, tweak our budgets on any given month. So let's say that you've got a lot of money in the bank early in the year. So you spend $5,000 a month, and then maybe around April, you take it down a little bit just because of cash issues. And then maybe it goes back up, towards August to about $10,000 a month. So you can kind of play around with your spends and just see and run different assumptions of if you decided to spend more on advertising, what that would do to your growth and what that would do to your revenue. So that's Facebook. And what I'm going to do, and this is one of the good things about Excel, is I'm just going to take this exact formula logic that we just created. And since the logic for Facebook is the exact same as the logic for LinkedIn, I'm just going to copy the whole section, Control C, and then I'm just going to Control V right down below for LinkedIn, right? So the assumptions for LinkedIn, even though the math is the same, the assumptions could be different. So we're going to assume that the cost per click for LinkedIn is a bit higher than the cost per click for Facebook, just because you're getting more specialized. You can target people with specific titles. So let's say, just for the purposes of this, that it's always going to be $3. So I'm going to paste that over. And maybe we're just testing the waters on LinkedIn ads. So maybe for now, we're just going to spend 500. We're going to be doing that for the next, 3 months. And assuming that that pans out, we're going to go up to 1,000. And let's just say that for now, we're going to stick to $1,000 a month, and we can go around, play with different budgets, see what that does to our model. So for now, we're just gonna stick to those three growth channels for now, but you have the ability to add as many growth channels as you'd like. And this is really where modeling becomes both an operational tool and a device in which to tell the story of your company, right? Because what we just did by creating these growth channel sections is we defined the growth strategy of our company. If I'm an investor or if I'm, a CEO of a company, I can clearly look at this and say, wow, okay, our primary growth strategy is going to be relying on paid advertising and organic website traffic. If instead we were relying on conferences, then I could go in and add a section that details out all of the conferences that we're going to and assumed number of leads that we have per conference, and we can assign a conversion rate to that. If we're relying on partnerships, we can do something similar where we're going in and detailing out partnerships and leads generated by partnership. But it's really important that the way that you construct your lead generation funnel is consistent with the strategy of your company, and is really that's what makes these models so powerful. Is you can try out different lead generation strategies, test them, test your assumptions, see if you're close, and determine if it's a viable strategy or if you need to change. So what we've done here is we've defined the leads. And then in this next section is where we're going to figure out how we're going to convert those leads into users so that we can actually start charging them money, right? So you see here, we've got these leads, and we have, for each channel that we created up here, we have a section or a row that matches the title of the sections up here, right? Organic website traffic, Facebook, LinkedIn, organic Facebook, LinkedIn, right there, okay? So what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with what we think a realistic conversion rate is going to be for each individual section. So for now, let's just assume that we have 2% conversion rates across the board, and then just get the calculations functioning. So if you do that, you're just going to hit this 2% for organic. And I'm going to go up to this organic section up here, and I'm going to multiply the 2% by the amount of leads that we got in that month. So I can see that now we've gotten 21 leads from organic traffic. Or I'm sorry, we've converted 21 of the leads that we got for organic traffic. What I'm doing now is I'm just going in and putting a $ in front of a C31, which is this conversion rate right here. If you put a $ in front of the C, it's going to lock the row so that whenever you drag the formula across, this doesn't move with it. It anchors the cell, right? So now I'm just going to be doing the exact same thing just across the board. We're going to now say this is a conversion rate, 2% conversion rate that we assumed here, and then $ it. Put a $ in front of it here, and then I'm going to multiply this by the leads that we get from Facebook, assuming a 2% conversion rate. Well, there you go. Now we got 50 converted customers from Facebook. And same thing with LinkedIn. I'm going to multiply this by this. I'm going to anchor this. Oh, what did I do? I'm going to anchor that. Okay. Now all I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy these formulas, drag them all the way across, to month 60, 5-year model. Great. All right. So now we've defined our conversion rate. So this is, again, where we can start running different scenarios in the model. The conversion rate for LinkedIn could end up being, considerably higher than the conversion rate from Facebook, because you are able to target individuals, much more specialized advertising. So if you assume that this is really closer to a 5% conversion rate versus the 2% conversion rate from Facebook, you can run that scenario. Maybe the organic traffic conversion rate is lower than the Facebook conversion rate, so maybe it's closer to 1. But these are the types of metrics that you're able to track over time, right? And again, you can model this in a bunch of different ways. We can try to optimize conversion rates over time. So we can start, for example, if we wanted to kind of customize this a little bit and make it a little bit more complicated, we could start with a conversion rate for LinkedIn of like 2% and assume that it optimizes over time up to 5% and see what that looks like for the model. So a lot of really interesting and cool things that you can do here. So now we've established how we're getting new customers. We've got our growth channels, we've converted each channel down, and we've got all of these new customers down here. So now what we need to do is we need to take these new customers and we need to break them out based off of the products we offer. And remember, earlier on, I said that we were doing this as a subscription company. So we're going to assume, we're going to use some of the assumptions that you would use for a subscription business. So let's say, for example, that this company that we're forecasting has 3 different subscription tiers. So it has a basic tier, a medium tier, probably bad verbiage, but and an advanced. Advanced tier. We can pretend like the basic tier, we think, since it's the lowest paid tier, we'll say that 70% of people use the basic tier. We'll say that 20% of users use the medium tier, and that only 10% use the advanced tier. So, okay, great, that adds up to 100. So I'm going to show you really quick the math of what that should look like. So we've got these new customers, and these are new customers that we're getting every single month. And I'm just going to be multiplying this new customer count by the percentage of the total customers. So that's saying that we got 69 customers. 48 of those customers are going to be basic customers. All right. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to copy and paste that formula down. Oh, well, no, I'm going to rebuild it. So I'm going to multiply this 69 here by this 20. And just to show you again how we do this, I'm going to be anchoring C41 on the column right here. And I could even anchor this F35 right here to anchor the row up in line 35. And then I can just copy and paste that down. So now it's multiplying this new customer count by the advance. So this is saying that if I get 69 customers, 48 of them are going to be basic, 14 of them are going to be the medium tier, the mid tier, and then 7 are going to be in the advanced tier. So now I'm just going to copy this logic. I'm going to paste it out for the entirety of the model. And now we've got our breakout of new customers. Okay, so you're going to have to bear with me here because this is where it gets a little bit complicated from like a calculation logic perspective whenever we start talking about churn. So I'm going to jump around just a little bit here. So the first thing I'm going to do is go down to our total customers. So these are the current customers that we have. So we're assuming that this isn't a business that's starting in day one. We're assuming that this is a business that's been in operations for maybe a few years, and that we already have 500 basic customers. And we'll say, actually, let's make it 5,000. And we're going to say that our medium customers or our mid customers, we only have 2,000, then maybe 1,000. Okay, of these, right? So what this math is doing currently is it is taking our current customers, and then here in a second, we're going to calculate churn rate. So it's going to be subtracting out churn customers, and then it's going to be adding in the new customers that we get from a product's perspective. So if I go up here and I say our churn rate is going to be 5%, well, that means that we started with 5,000, we churned 250 of those 5,000, and we only got 48 new ones. So our ending customer count is going to be 4,798. And to show you how churn rate is calculated, all we're doing, we have a little round function in here, but basically all it's doing is taking the current customers and it's multiplying it by 5%, which is the monthly churn rate, putting a negative sign in there just to show that it's subtracting those customers, right? And we'll attach the template to this course so that you can check out the math. All of it will be included, but all I did was I just copied and pasted the logic that we just described down below, and we need to input churn rates here. So let's say that this is a 3% churn rate and this is a 2% churn rate. Same exact stuff is happening here, guys. It's just taking beginning customers, multiplying it by the churn rate, showing how many are going out the door, and then we're just taking beginning customers, subtracting the ones that left, adding the ones that came in. And since it's a subscription, we're doing that previous month, new amount that left, new amount that came in, and just extrapolating that all the way across the spectrum. Right? Now that we've got our total customer count and we've included churn and we've included the different breakouts and the new client, the current client breakouts, the last thing that we're going to be doing is calculating the price per month, right? And this is how we get revenue. So let's say that our basic package will say is $25 per month, or $35 a month, sorry. We'll say that the medium package is $50 a month, and the advanced is $100. So what we're going to do here to calculate revenue, it's just as simple as price times quantity. We've already established the quantity, and we're just going to be multiplying that by the monthly price of $35 a month, and that's for the basic package. So if I copy this down, now all it's doing is it's just multiplying down below. So now we've got the medium. This is the number of users, 1,954 users on the medium package. Multiply that by the $50 a month. Now we have revenue for the medium package. Same thing for large, right there. And then we have this sum function. So our total revenue is going to be the sum of those three. So if I wanted to extrapolate this out and get it for the entirety of the model, I'm just going to copy and paste that formula. And now we can see how revenue is growing. So interestingly enough, in the way that we put this one together, as you can see, we started with 364,000 in revenue. And because our churn rate is so high, you can see up here, we actually go down in revenue over time. We continuously go down. So it shows you kind of the power of churn rate. So if I actually took this churn rate and made it 1%, 1%, 1%, look at that. Now we're all of a sudden growing. Pretty interesting. But that is how we calculate revenue here. So hopefully you guys found this helpful. Like I said, won't apply perfectly to all of your businesses, but I think that the logic should apply to just about every business out there. The kind of funnel architecture, the idea of creating a basket for leads and then converting leads and breaking them out, that logic should be sound. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at info@financialmodel.io. We are more than happy to help you and actually work with you to build out a model of your own. But we focus really heavily on revenue in this section. This was section 1 of the income statement video. The second section of the income statement video is going to be focusing on expenses and building out the rest of the income statement. Super, super important. So please chime in for the next video, and we'll tackle all of that. And we'll see you next time.